Well, hello there, everyone. Welcome back. This week we'll be reading chapters 4 and 5 from the presentation of self in everyday life. Personally, these are my favorite sections in the book because they are pretty funny. I often find myself laughing out loud when reading these chapters. There's just something so funny about watching performances fall apart. Maybe that's why I spend so much time on the internet watching those fail videos over and over. I just hope people don't watch and laugh at me over one of my failures someday. Over to you, Professor.
Thanks, Irving. I watch those fail videos on YouTube all the time as well. They're just so satisfying. We never want our own performances to fail, but for whatever reason, we get some enjoyment in watching others fail. Maybe Schadenfreude is just part of the human condition. I'm sure Goffman thinks so. One of the reasons I like reading the presentation of self in everyday life so much is that it systematizes humor, right? It's entertaining, but also theoretically insightful. This is a rare combination. Most academic theories are pretty dry, but if you look deeply at Goffman's dramaturgy, you'll see a dark cynicism regarding human behavior, and it is at times pretty funny. It's one of the reasons I use so many short clips from comedies to illustrate Goffman's concepts. He offers a real social science of humor, if you will. So hopefully in this week's lecture, you'll learn something new, but also crack a few smiles here and there. Let's get to it. To err is human. None of us is perfect. We do our best to create the right impressions, and some of us are more skilled at impression management than others. But in the end, performances will go wrong, inevitably. There's always that risk. And no matter how much we rehearse, no matter how much we prepare beforehand, no matter how much control we have over the setting and over the other performers, mistakes will happen. And when they do, they can be a source of humor for the observers, although it is rarely funny for the person who committed the mistake. Sometimes we can look back at a failed performance and laugh at ourselves, but other times the impression is so catastrophically shattered that there's no coming back. Success in life, I think, depends on your ability to avoid these disruptions to the impressions that we want to foster. In the first part of this lecture, we're going to have a look at what Goffman calls discrepant roles, where the impression you're trying to create is shown to be incompatible with what the audience perceives. After that, Irvine, my avatar, will give you instructions on this week's activity to be completed on the LMS forum. Finally, we'll continue to look at Goffman's theorization of the role of communication in impression management. Let's begin, eh? Impressions are like a house of cards. This is mainly because, according to Goffman's dramaturgy, they are rarely built on solid, that is to say, truthful foundations. Goffman sees a world in which we incessantly lie, misrepresent, and dupe others into believing what we want them to believe. This is how we define the situation. The truth is much too constraining in Goffman's world. Why stick with the truth? It's boring, and it limits our ability to get what we want from our interactions with others. Okay, the truth is a solid foundation, and impressions that are built on the truth are unlikely to collapse. But even then, we have to recognize that there is no one truth, as we discussed earlier. Maybe we present different selves in different situations, but each situation is truthful to some extent. but they appear like fabrications when seen alongside each other. It takes just one small performance mistake, or it takes just one member of the audience who is hell bent on exposing your incompatible selves for your entire world to fall apart. One of the main reasons why our performances fail is that we do not successfully compartmentalize ourselves. Thus, we may present one self to the world, but we have a secret part of ourself that is incompatible with that impression of reality. The case of Pastor Ted Haggard is a good case in point. Poor Ted. Now, this guy was a popular right-wing evangelical preacher. His sermons were filled with hateful language towards homosexuals. He regularly condemned them to hell and built up a huge following among conservatives in the United States. Well, it turns out that Ted was living a double life. In one life, he preached fire and brimstone against homosexuals. But in another life, he indulged in crystal meth and homosexual relationships himself. Now, as long as Ted could keep these different selves fully compartmentalized, there was no problem. But when these two worlds collided, well, just take a look for yourself.
Across the nation, a leading evangelical Christian pastor at the forefront of the crusade against same-sex marriage steps down from the pulpit amid allegations of a long-term sexual affair with another man. The Reverend Ted Haggard resigning as president of the powerful National Association of Evangelicals, which represents 30 million American Christians. He has also left his post as the pastor of the New Life Church in Colorado Springs. While the church panel investigates charges, he had a 3-year affair with a male escort and that he used methamphetamine during their sexual encounters. Reverend Haggard, married with 5 children, denies the allegations.
I've never said that I'm perfect, but I haven't had sex with a man in Denver, and I've been faithful to my wife. I've never had a gay relationship with anybody, and I'm steady with my wife. I'm faithful to my wife, and so I don't know if this is election year politics or if this has to do with the marriage amendment or what it is.
The man making the accusation, 49-year-old Mike Jones, he says Haggard paid him for sex, and they secretly met about once a month for 3 years. He says Haggard's stand against gay marriage prompted him to come forward.
It's been hard for me because emotionally I just don't want to destroy someone. But this story needs to be out because it's so wrong. People may look at me and what I've done as immoral, but I think I had to do the moral thing in my mind, and that is expose someone who is preaching one thing but doing the opposite behind everybody's backs.
Despite the Reverend Haggard's public denial, the pastor who's running the church now, Reverend Ross Parsley, says Haggard did make an admission of indiscretion.
There has been some admission of indiscretion, not admission to all of the material that has been discussed, but there is an admission of some guilt, and that's what we're working with the outside overseers who are working with Pastor Ted and his family to investigate what's happened here.
The allegations come as voters in Colorado and 7 other states prepare to weigh in on amendments that would ban gay marriage. Republicans in Pennsylvania facing yet another sex scandal this morning. Allegations Republican Congressman Don Sherwood agreed to pay $500,000 to an ex-mistress he is accused of abusing.
Companies do this too. A company might have, at first glance, a strong commitment to CSR or corporate social responsibility initiatives. It might donate sizable amounts of money to philanthropic causes and preach the importance of protecting workers from exploitation. But then it turns out that some investigative journalists visited a work site and documented appalling treatment of employees. Every company wants to portray itself as a good citizen, but of course, not every company is a good citizen. So, Goffman defines destructive information as any facts that disrupt, discredit, or make useless an impression. Obviously, performers within a team, maybe workmates or friends or family, for example, have access to destructive information about the team. We may know things about our friends, our family, or colleagues that could, if revealed, destroy the impression that they are trying to foster. And they also might likely know facts about us that could destroy the impression that we want to foster. There is a mutual sense of solidarity within a team. I won't reveal your secrets if you won't reveal mine. The team works hard to prevent the audience from uncovering the discrepancies. Think about, for example, an Olympic team, all of whom take performance-enhancing drugs. The drugs will help their collective performance as well as their individual performances, but it puts them in jeopardy, both individually and as a group. They work hard to control the information and to hide these disruptive facts from the audience. Goffman defines information control as attempts on the part of the group to ensure that the audience does not acquire destructive information about the performance. If a car company, for example, is cheating on its emissions test, it needs to take proactive steps to cover up the wrongdoing. If a religious organization is found to have been abusing children, it equally takes steps to cover up the destructive information. Huge amounts of social pressure are placed on team members to keep the dirty secrets hidden from the public. This is why teams are so vulnerable to whistleblowers. A whistleblower is someone who was a previous member of the team, but then defects and intentionally reveals destructive information to the audience, usually to the public. And we'll talk more about whistleblowers in the next slide. Destructive information can be found everywhere in the workplace. A job applicant lies on her CV. An illegal immigrant uses a false identity to secure work. An employee secretly records company wrongdoing on his phone. Employees routinely lie to customers about the product that they're selling. The list goes on and on. Let's talk about secrets. They're everywhere. We all have them. I have secrets that I don't want you to know about, and you have secrets that you don't want me to know about. If you were to find out about some of my secrets, you might question the professional persona that I'm trying to project to you. And if I found out about some of your secrets, it may influence my perception of you as a student. So we go to great lengths to conceal our secrets from others. Goffman argues that not all secrets are the same. He defines various types of secrets in the presentation of self in everyday life. Dark secrets are facts about which a team knows and conceals which are incompatible with the image that the team is projecting to the audience. For example, think about a team of car salespeople who knowingly sell a lemon to an unsuspecting customer, or a socialist politician who campaigns as a champion of the working class, but in secret lives a lavish lifestyle that is incompatible with his rhetoric. Or men who pretend to be feminists, but are later found out to have repeatedly sexually harassed women. Strategic secrets are secrets that help us gain an advantage over competitor teams. Think about, for example, cases of insider trading. or where we use blackmail to get what we want from another person or team, or cases in business where there is an asymmetrical knowledge between the parties. Next are inside secrets. These are secrets that foster solidarity within the group because outsiders are not in the know, as it were. Think about, for example, the secret signals and symbolisms that are used by members of secret societies to identify each other, or criminal behavior with the mafia or other organized crime groups. Entrusted secrets are those that are entrusted to other members of a team as a test of their loyalty. You often see these entrusted secrets in crime movies. Or think about the everlasting gobstopper in Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. Willy Wonka gives each child the everlasting gobstopper as a test of loyalty to see which one will stay true. Finally, latent secrets are defined as secrets that no one, even in the team, knows about. These are, for example, the dark, personal secrets that we tell no one else about. Some secrets are so destructive that they could even be illegal. I'm thinking, for example, about people who have committed rape or murder or child abuse. Such latent secrets are only extremely rarely disclosed to others. Now, we often present false identities to others. Goffman gives a few examples of false identities, starting with what he calls an informer. An informer is someone who pretends to be a member of the team, is allowed backstage, acquires destructive information, and then secretly sells out the performance to the audience. This is, again, a common plot in organized crime movies, but it happens in real life as well. An example of an informer might be an FBI agent who joins the mafia in order to take them down, like that Johnny Depp movie, Donnie Brasco. Informers are also common in industrial espionage. One company may send a secret spy to work for a competitor in order to gather secrets or to sabotage production. A traitor is someone who joins a team with good intentions, but then sells out the show. Sometimes we might join a team and later see the dark side. Chelsea Manning is a good example of what Goffman would call a traitor. A spy is a concept that's very similar to an informer. Goffman defines a spy as someone who joins the team with the intention of selling out the show. An example of a spy might be a manager or an owner of a company who sends in false customers just to check up on customer service of the employees. A shill is defined as someone who pretends to be a member of the audience or of the opposing team, but is actually working with the performers. For example, think of employees who pose falsely as customers and leave positive reviews on a website. Finally, Goffman defines a spotter as a member of the audience who is looking to discredit the performance, often just to cause trouble. These are inherently distrustful people that are always on the lookout for illusions and trying to expose them, like someone who gives away the secrets of a magician's trick. All of these false identities pose various threats and opportunities to a definition of the situation. The most effective performers or teams are those who are vigilant to anyone who can maliciously infiltrate the group. Next, Goffman goes on to define a series of what he calls outsider roles. These are people who play a supporting role to a performance, but are technically not part of the team. The first outsider role is what he calls the mediator. This is an actor who is a member of neither team, but attempts to solve a dispute between them. Many industrial disputes between employees and employers' representatives are mediated, as are many civil cases in a court of law. The mediator enters the interaction as a neutral person, but as we learned, teams have to beware of mediators assuming false identities. Then there are non-persons. These are people who might be present at a performance, but are not really part of the performance. At a business networking lunch, for example, the waiters and the waitresses serving the food might be considered non-persons, just in the background. Often as well, children are considered non-persons when they enter into an interaction. A service specialist is someone who specializes in the construction, repair, or maintenance of a performance. Service specialists often focus on the setting, for example, interior designers. Sometimes they focus on the personal front, for example, beauticians or hairstylists. They often learn secrets and get a backstage view of the team, but they do not participate directly in the show. Now, because they are entrusted with the secrets of the performance, they sometimes use this information to blackmail the performers. A training specialist is someone who trains and prepares actors on how to build an effective impression. This group might include, for example, executive coaches or etiquette experts who teach you how to behave in certain situations. A confidant is an outsider who is told the secrets of the show with the understanding that they can be trusted to keep them. Religious clergy or psychologists or lawyers are often confidants. They are not directly involved in a performance, but they know its secrets, warts and all. A colleague is someone who presents the same routine, but not at the same time and to the same audience. In other words, they play the same role as you, but in a different team and to a different audience. A colleague might be someone of the same profession as you. My colleagues, for example, are other university professors. We understand each other, even if we've never met, because we present the same routine. Finally, Goffman defines a renegade as a disaffected person who turns whistleblower. This is a former team member who defects against the team, sometimes for selfish reasons, but other times for moral reasons. I've said before that Goffman's dramaturgy can be humorous, and sometimes it is funny. When people fart or do something a bit embarrassing, that can temporarily disrupt the definition of the situation, and it might bring a little smile to your face. Okay, that's true. But I want to end this part of the lecture with a reminder that sometimes the effects of role discrepancy can be catastrophic and traumatic. Sometimes there's nothing funny at all about dramaturgy. The effects can include serious embarrassment, shame, excommunication from the group, ostracism, severe psychological distress, and even, yes, suicide. The case of Tiziana Cantone illustrates the seriousness of the revelation of our secrets. As I said at the beginning, we all make mistakes in our performances, but sometimes these mistakes cannot be erased. And when they end in tragedy like this, we should all feel ashamed of ourselves.
C'è una ragazza per bene devastata, cioè la sua vita era stata buttata in pasto a tutti, aveva subito derisioni di ogni genere, parodie, era finita sui siti porno. Una cosa, guardi, senza precedenti proprio. Vorrei tanto fare giustizia a mia figlia perché è stata costretta a morire. E quella giustizia che lei ha sempre cercato, quel diritto all'oblio, quel voler essere dimenticata, non l'ha potuto avere in vita. E allora glielo vorrei almeno cercare di darglielo io adesso. Vorrei che questo nome Tiziana Cantone, d'ora in avanti, invece di essere quel nome che è stato tanto deriso, tanto infangato, tanto insultato, vorrei che fosse invece adesso un nome che facesse pensare che può salvare la vita invece alle altre donne, le donne in particolare. E poi tutti questi casi di cyberbullismo per quanto riguarda i ragazzi pure. Ecco, vorrei che si facesse questo proprio per salvare altre persone.